Gentlemen, let me be real with you for a second. Most guys are out here completely blind to what's happening right in front of them. She's been giving you signals for weeks and you're just sitting there thinking, nah, she's just being friendly. Wrong. There's a huge difference between a girl who's just being nice and a girl who wants you. And today, I'm breaking down all 11 signs so you never miss them again. Stay locked in till the end, because signs number 5 and 8, those are the ones guys miss the most. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. Let's get into it. My name is Mary Smith, and I'm the host of the Mindful Senior Living YouTube channel. Over the years, I've spent a lot of time studying human behavior and emotional patterns. What fascinates me most is that so much of what we feel isn't spoken out loud. It's shown through tiny gestures, tone of voice, and eye contact. Now, if you're watching this right now, I want you to pause for a moment and think about someone in your life. Maybe there's a woman you talk to regularly. Maybe, just maybe, you've caught yourself wondering, is she just being friendly? Or is there something more here? That question alone has kept millions of men awake at night. And the truth is, attraction rarely begins with words. It begins with behavior. It begins with signals. Human beings are wired to express feelings through body language long before we're comfortable saying them out loud. In psychology, we often talk about nonverbal communication as the most honest form of communication. Why? Because while words can be controlled, body language often slips through unconsciously. That's why these signals matter so much. And today, we're going to slow things down and really look at those signals together. Because once you understand them, you'll start noticing patterns you may have missed your entire life. You'll begin to see how attraction quietly reveals itself in the smallest ways. And trust me, once you see it, you truly can't unsee it. But before we go deeper, if you enjoy learning about human behavior, relationships, and emotional intelligence, take a quick moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps this community grow, and it tells me you want more conversations like this one. Now let's start with the first sign. One of the clearest indicators of attraction is physical touch. Not the obvious kind, not dramatic gestures. I'm talking about the subtle, almost casual touches that happen in everyday moments. Maybe she lightly taps your arm when she laughs at something you said. Maybe her hand briefly brushes your shoulder as she walks past. Maybe she playfully nudges you during a conversation. On the surface, these gestures seem small, almost accidental, but psychologically, they are rarely random. Physical touch is one of the most powerful signals humans use to communicate comfort and attraction. When someone touches you voluntarily, even in tiny ways, it means they feel safe entering your personal space. And personal space is a very guarded boundary. Think about it. Most people instinctively maintain distance from strangers, but when attraction enters the picture, that boundary begins to soften. Let me give you a simple real-life example. A man once shared with me that he had a coworker who constantly found reasons to lightly touch his arm during conversations. At first, he assumed she was just a friendly person, but over time he noticed something interesting. She didn't touch anyone else that way. The gestures were reserved for him. A tap when she laughed, a brief touch when she emphasized a point, a playful nudge when teasing him. Those small touches weren't random, they were signals. And eventually, when he finally asked her out, she admitted she had been hoping he would notice for months. You see, attraction often begins with what psychologists call testing proximity. Small touches allow someone to gauge your response. If she's initiating those touches consistently, it's very likely her body is communicating what her words haven't said yet. Now, let's move into the second sign, and this one is deeply connected to human instinct. Pay attention to space. In psychology, space tells a powerful story about emotional comfort. When someone is drawn to you, they naturally want to reduce the physical distance between you. Maybe you're in a group setting and she gradually drifts closer during conversation. Maybe there are multiple empty seats available, yet she chooses the one right beside you. These choices seem small, but they're incredibly meaningful. Human beings instinctively move toward what feels emotionally rewarding. And when a woman consistently moves closer to you, even when she doesn't have to, it signals comfort, curiosity, and often attraction. I remember a client once telling me about a woman he met at a weekly social event. Every time the group gathered, she somehow ended up sitting beside him. At first, he thought it was coincidence. But after several weeks, he noticed something else. Even when someone else took the seat next to him first, she would position herself across from him, facing him directly, making eye contact during the conversation. Eventually, he realized she wasn't just randomly choosing seats, she was choosing proximity. Psychologically speaking, proximity builds emotional connection. The closer we sit or stand to someone, the more our brains interpret that closeness as intimacy. And the more comfortable someone feels near you, the stronger that signal becomes. Now, the third sign is incredibly subtle, and most men miss it entirely. Listen carefully to her voice. When a woman feels attracted to someone, her tone often changes without her even realizing it. Her voice may become slightly softer, warmer, or more intimate, almost as if she's speaking directly to you in a small, private world, even if you're surrounded by other people. It's not dramatic, it's not exaggerated. In fact, it's often very gentle. Imagine being in a busy room where everyone is talking loudly. Then she turns toward you and her voice lowers slightly, her tone softens, and suddenly the conversation feels personal. That shift matters. Psychologists call this vocal modulation. When we feel emotionally drawn to someone, our voice naturally adapts to create connection. It's the same instinct that makes people speak gently to someone they care about. And if you notice that her voice sounds different when she talks to you compared to others, that may be your clue that something deeper is happening beneath the surface. Now, before we move forward, I'm curious about something. Have you ever noticed one of these signs before, but only realized it later? If so, I'd love for you to share that experience in the comments. I read them, and your stories often help others recognize signals they might be missing. Now, let's talk about the fourth sign, which is one of the oldest signals of attraction in human behavior: hair. You've probably heard about this before, but there's a psychological layer that most people don't talk about. When a woman is attracted to someone, she may start adjusting her hair more frequently during conversation, tucking it behind her ear, flipping it gently to one side, running her fingers through it. Now, of course, people adjust their hair for many reasons, but the key factor here is timing. Does she do it right after you make eye contact? Right after you say something that makes her smile? Right after a moment where the energy between you changes slightly? That timing is what transforms a simple habit into a meaningful signal, because when someone feels attraction, their awareness of how they appear increases dramatically. They want to look their best in front of you. This is part of what psychologists call impression management. When we care about someone's perception of us, we subconsciously adjust our appearance. And hair is one of the easiest ways to do that. But what's fascinating is that these gestures are rarely calculated. They happen instinctively. Her brain is saying, "This person matters, pay attention," and her body follows that message. Now we're about to move into sign number 5, and I want you to pay very close attention to this one, because this is one of the signals men overlook the most. And yet, once you start noticing it, you'll see it everywhere. But before we go there, take a quick second to subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps the channel grow, and it allows us to keep having deeper conversations about relationships, emotional awareness, and the psychology behind human connection. Alright, let's continue. Sign number 5 isn't just about entering your space, it's about inviting you into hers. And that subtle difference reveals a lot more than most people realize. Sign number 5 isn't just about her coming closer to you, it's about her inviting you into her space. And psychologically, that's a very powerful shift. Maybe she pats the empty seat next to her and says, "Come sit here." Maybe during a group conversation, she turns her entire body toward you so you're directly in front of her. Maybe she adjusts her position so that you're naturally included in her personal bubble, while everyone else fades slightly into the background. On the surface, it can look like simple friendliness, but if it happens repeatedly, there's often much more behind it. In human behavior, opening personal space is a strong indicator of trust and interest. Our brains are naturally protective of our personal territory. When someone invites you into that territory willingly, they are signaling comfort, curiosity, and often attraction. I once spoke with a gentleman who told me about a woman he met at a community class. During group discussions, she would consistently shift her chair closer to his. At first, he thought it was coincidence, but over time, he noticed something interesting. Whenever the group rearranged seating, she would find a way to position herself next to him again. Eventually, she began patting the chair beside her and saying, "You should sit here." To him, it felt casual. To her, it was intentional. These invitations are subtle ways of saying, "I want you near me." Not everyone says that out loud. Many people express it through small gestures like this instead. Now let's talk about sign number 6, and this one is incredibly powerful, the look that lasts just a little longer than normal. Eye contact is one of the most revealing forms of communication humans have. A quick glance is normal in everyday interactions, but when someone holds your gaze a second longer than expected, something deeper is usually happening. It might look like this. You're talking, and suddenly you notice she's looking directly into your eyes with a calm, steady expression. Not rushed, not distracted, just present. Then maybe she looks away and smiles slightly to herself. Moments like that often feel small when they happen, but they carry emotional weight. Psychologists often describe prolonged eye contact as a bonding signal. When we look into someone's eyes for longer than normal, our brains release chemicals associated with connection and trust. In other words, eye contact can literally deepen emotional feelings. And when someone chooses to maintain that contact with you repeatedly, it's often because they feel drawn to you in some way. I once heard a story from a man who said he realized a woman liked him because of the way she looked at him during conversations. She wasn't just listening politely, she was studying him, watching his reactions, smiling when he spoke. At one point, he even joked, "Why do you look at me like that?" Her answer was simple. "Because I like looking at you." Sometimes the truth is hidden in the simplest moments. Now, before we move to the next sign, I want to pause and ask you something. How many of these signals have you actually noticed in your own life, but maybe didn't recognize what they meant at the time? It happens more often than you might think. Many people only understand these moments in hindsight. If you're enjoying this conversation so far, take a moment to like the video. It helps more people discover this kind of content, and it lets me know these discussions are meaningful to you. Now let's talk about sign number 7. Not all smiles are the same. We all have what psychologists call a social smile. It's the polite smile we give strangers, coworkers, or people we greet casually. It's quick, friendly, and often disappears just as quickly as it appeared. But the smile someone gives a person they're attracted to is different. It lingers, it reaches the eyes, it carries warmth. Sometimes she might smile and then look down slightly, almost as if she's trying to hide it. Other times, she may bite her lip for a brief moment or laugh softly afterward. These little details matter. A genuine smile activates muscles around the eyes called the orbicularis oculi. When those muscles engage, the smile becomes authentic and emotionally driven rather than polite. In simple terms, her face lights up. I once spoke to a couple who had been married for over 30 years. When they talked about how they first met, the husband said something interesting. He told me, "The first thing I noticed about her was the way she smiled at me. It was different from how she smiled at everyone else. I didn't know what it meant at the time, but it made me feel like I mattered." That feeling of being seen and valued is often what attraction quietly communicates, and when someone consistently lights up when they see you, it's rarely accidental. Now we're approaching sign number 8. 2 weeks ago, you casually mentioned you were stressed about something. Maybe it was work, maybe it was a family situation, maybe it was a goal you were working toward. You didn't think much of the conversation at the time, but then days later she asks you, "Hey, how did that situation turn out?" Or maybe you once mentioned your favorite meal, your favorite music, or a small personal detail about your life. And weeks later she brings it up again. This might seem like a small thing, but psychologically it's huge. Human memory works on a principle called emotional relevance. Our brains tend to remember information that feels meaningful or emotionally connected. In other words, people remember what matters to them. When someone remembers the small details of your life, it often means they've been thinking about you when you weren't even present. You've taken up space in their mind. I remember hearing about a woman who once brought a man his favorite coffee order simply because she remembered him mentioning it weeks earlier. He hadn't even realized she had been paying attention. When he asked why she remembered, she laughed and said, "Because when you said it, I noticed." Attention is a powerful form of affection, and remembering details is one of the clearest ways people show that affection. Now we're about to move into another fascinating signal of attraction, something psychologists call mirroring. But before we explore that, I want you to think about the last conversation you had with someone you felt deeply connected to. Did you notice how naturally the interaction flowed? Did your body language seem to sync up without effort? That synchronization is not random. And once you understand what it means, you'll start noticing it everywhere. Let's explore that next. Now let's talk about something that happens so naturally most people don't even realize it's happening. This natural behavior is what we call mirroring. Mirroring is one of the most fascinating behaviors in human psychology because it happens almost entirely on a subconscious level. When two people feel a strong sense of connection or attraction, their bodies begin to copy each other's movements without either person intending to do it. You lean forward slightly during a conversation, and a moment later, she leans forward too. You laugh, and a second later she laughs along with you, even if she didn't fully catch the joke. You cross your arms casually while listening, and after a short pause, she shifts her posture in the same way. None of this is calculated. In fact, if you asked her directly, she probably wouldn't even realize she's doing it. But her brain is already subconsciously doing the work. Psychologists often explain mirroring as a sign that two people are emotionally in sync. When we feel comfortable and connected to someone, our brains automatically start aligning our behavior with theirs. It's the mind's way of building rapport and deepening connection. There's a fascinating study that showed people tend to like others more when they mirror their body language. But what's even more interesting is that when attraction already exists, mirroring happens naturally without anyone trying. Imagine two people sitting at a cafe. As the conversation flows, their gestures begin to match. Their smiles appear at the same moments. Even their speaking rhythm begins to align. If you were watching from across the room, you might notice something subtle but powerful. They look like they belong in the same moment. That is the fundamental power of mirroring. And when you see it happening repeatedly between you and someone else, it's often a sign that the emotional connection is already forming beneath the surface. Now, here's something important to understand. Mirroring is extremely difficult to fake convincingly. Because it operates on a subconscious level, it tends to appear when genuine feelings are present. That's why psychologists often view it as one of the most honest signals of attraction. Now let's move to sign number 10, which many people misunderstand: nervousness. A lot of men assume that if a woman seems slightly nervous around them, it must be a negative sign. But often it's the opposite. Think about the last time you were around someone you were deeply attracted to. Maybe your words didn't come out perfectly. Maybe you felt slightly more aware of yourself. Maybe your heart beat a little faster. Those reactions are incredibly normal. Attraction creates emotional energy, and that energy sometimes shows up as nervousness. Maybe she fidgets with her bracelet during conversation. Maybe she adjusts her clothes slightly, even though there's nothing wrong with them. Maybe she laughs a little quicker than usual, or momentarily loses her train of thought. These behaviors are sometimes called attraction anxiety. It's the mind saying, "This person matters to me, I hope I make a good impression." One man once told me about a woman he worked with who seemed slightly flustered whenever they talked. She would stumble over her words occasionally, laugh nervously, and sometimes play with the sleeve of her sweater. At first, he assumed she just felt awkward around him. But months later, when they finally began dating, she confessed something surprising. She said, "I always got nervous talking to you because I liked you so much." What he interpreted as uncertainty was actually affection. Now, of course, context always matters. Nervousness alone doesn't guarantee attraction. But when it appears alongside the other signals we've discussed, eye contact, smiling, proximity, remembering details, it becomes a meaningful piece of the puzzle. Now we arrive at the final sign, sign number 11, and in many ways, this one may be the most revealing of all. She doesn't let the conversation die. When someone truly enjoys your presence, they naturally want the interaction to continue. They ask follow-up questions. They bring up topics you discussed before. They find reasons to keep the dialogue alive. Maybe she texts you first to share something small that reminded her of you. Maybe she circles back to a conversation you had days earlier. Maybe when the conversation begins to slow down, she introduces a new topic to keep it going. Why does this happen? Because connection thrives on attention. And when someone values your attention, they don't let silence end the interaction easily. Think about it for a moment. We all have busy lives. We all have countless distractions. Yet when someone consistently finds time and energy to continue conversations with you, it reveals something important. You matter to them. I once heard someone describe attraction in a beautifully simple way. He said, when someone likes you, they look for reasons to keep you in their day. That might mean sending a message. That might mean asking one more question. That might mean sharing a story just to hear your response. Those little efforts are rarely random. They're intentional bridges between moments. And when someone repeatedly builds those bridges, it's often because they want the connection to grow. Now, I want to pause here for a moment and reflect on something important. None of these signs exist in isolation. One smile alone doesn't always mean attraction. One friendly conversation doesn't always mean interest. But when several of these signals begin appearing together, touch, proximity, eye contact, remembering details, mirroring, nervous energy, ongoing conversations, that pattern becomes much harder to ignore. Human attraction is rarely announced with a loud declaration. Instead, it whispers through behavior. And once you learn to listen to those whispers, relationships start to make much more sense. But there's one final perspective I want to share with you before we close this conversation. Because understanding attraction isn't just about recognizing when someone likes you. It's also about learning how to respond with confidence, kindness, and emotional awareness. Let's talk about that. Now that you understand these 11 signals, the most important question becomes this: what do you actually do with this knowledge? Because recognizing attraction is only the first step. Responding to it with confidence, respect, and emotional awareness is where real connection begins. One of the biggest mistakes many men make is assuming they need to perform, impress, or dramatically change who they are the moment they suspect someone likes them. But real attraction rarely grows from performance. It grows from authenticity. When a woman shows these subtle signals, touching your arm, leaning closer, remembering small details about your life, holding eye contact longer than usual, what she's really communicating is comfort. She feels safe enough to express curiosity about you, and the healthiest response to that curiosity is simple: meet it with genuine presence. That means listening carefully when she speaks. It means asking thoughtful questions about her life. It means showing the same attention she's been giving you. Connection is rarely one-sided. It grows through a quiet exchange of attention. Let me tell you a story that illustrates this beautifully. A man once shared how he met someone during a volunteer event. At first, their conversations were brief and casual, but over time, he began noticing small signals. She laughed at his jokes a little longer than everyone else. She remembered details about his work. Whenever the group gathered, she somehow ended up standing next to him. For weeks, he questioned himself. Maybe she's just being friendly, he thought. But eventually, he realized something important. The pattern kept repeating. So one afternoon, after another easy conversation, he simply said, "I've really enjoyed talking with you. Would you like to grab coffee sometime?" Nothing dramatic, nothing rehearsed, just a sincere invitation. She smiled and said yes immediately. Later, she admitted she had been hoping he would ask. That moment captures something essential about attraction. Often the signals are there, but someone needs the courage to acknowledge them. And courage doesn't mean being perfect. It simply means being willing to express interest honestly. Now I want to offer you something practical you can try the next time you notice several of these signs happening with someone. Instead of overanalyzing every interaction, focus on creating moments of genuine conversation. Ask open-ended questions like, "What's something you've been excited about lately?" Or, "What's something you've always wanted to try but haven't yet?" Questions like these invite deeper conversation. They move beyond small talk and allow both people to share more about who they are. Another powerful practice is something psychologists call active listening. This means giving someone your full attention when they speak. Maintaining eye contact, nodding, responding thoughtfully rather than rushing to fill silence. When people feel truly heard, emotional connection grows naturally. And here's something fascinating about attraction. Confidence doesn't come from knowing someone likes you. Confidence comes from being comfortable expressing who you are regardless of the outcome. Some connections turn into relationships, others become friendships, and some simply become meaningful conversations that brighten a moment in time. All of those outcomes are valuable because every interaction teaches us something about human connection. Now there's another important layer to all of this. Respect. Even when someone shows signals of attraction, it's important to remain mindful of boundaries and mutual comfort. The goal isn't to interpret signals as guarantees. The goal is to recognize opportunities for respectful curiosity. Think of these signs as invitations to explore a connection, not conclusions about where it must lead. Healthy relationships grow when two people feel safe expressing interest at their own pace. And sometimes the most attractive quality of all is patience. Allowing connection to develop naturally, allowing conversation to unfold without pressure, allowing curiosity to guide the interaction rather than expectation. One of the most beautiful things about human relationships is that they often begin with moments so small we barely notice them at first. A smile that lasts a little longer, a seat chosen beside you in a crowded room. These tiny moments are the quiet language of attraction, and once you begin recognizing that language, you start to see relationships differently. You start to realize how much people communicate without ever saying the words directly. And perhaps more importantly, you begin to recognize when someone truly values your presence. Before we finish, I want to ask you one more question. Have you ever looked back on a moment in your life and suddenly realized someone may have been showing interest in you, but you didn't notice it at the time? It happens to almost everyone. Sometimes we only understand those signals years later. If you've experienced something like that, share your story in the comments. These conversations often help others recognize similar moments in their own lives. And if today's video helped you see attraction in a new way, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I truly appreciate you being part of this community, and I look forward to our next conversation together.